All right. Good morning, everyone. Dan here with tradingology.com in the trading room for getting close to the end of the month, October 27th. We got Halloween coming this week. And as always, or as usual, I should say, maybe not always, we have Dave from Strong Market joining us once again. So good morning, Dave. How you doing? We'll let him get settled in and get unmuted there.
Good morning.
Hey, there's Dave. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Good. Just getting a little water here. I'm all coffeeed out.
I was just watching the supply demand on the NQ here on the NDX, I should say. And I recorded, I was trying to get a screenshot, but I didn't get it in time. This just hit 2,800 to the upside.
2,800?
Yep.
I did not see that one. Interesting.
We'll see. It didn't print. I don't know, maybe if I can go down to a 1 minute. I don't think it's going to even show on a 1 minute. It's got some big fluctuation happening right now. Ooh, maybe that lucky. Let's see.
Yeah, it's pretty volatile looking, all right.
64. Looks like we might have some offset. Here we go. Let's see what's doing this time. Negative 250. NA, tell me the number.
You have to move your mouse so that it doesn't block the screen. I don't know why they don't just print it, but
see if that fluctuates anymore on this. As we were just talking about recently, I know that's usually one of those signs, unless it's all upside. We'll see. Yeah, I saw that it was like 28.12. I was like, whoa, that's a big number.
it is a big number. And so they could have been that could have been an offset from yesterday too. So if we had a big number yesterday, like minus 2,800,
sure,
so yeah, we'll have to kind of see, but because there was a lot of sell orders coming in yesterday, and the specialists may not have been able to get rid of them all yet.
Yeah, which turned out it was perfect setup with the SR levels here, right on the SPX here. Came right up to it. It was looking happy. It's like, yeah, supply and demand's coming up. Nope. Scoreboard said 10-0 at that time, and the Bears won. Now it says 10-3, so it's getting more choppy. Mm-hmm. That was a perfect move off of that indicator right there. As we say at the same time, the ES moved from 34 to a nice, almost 20-point move. Get any piece of that? So that was a nice setup there for this morning. So we're done for the day after that trade. We like being done early.
NASDAQ getting a little bit of a bid here. It was pretty volatile this morning, right at the open. I mean, we're up about 110 or so on the YM futures contracts before the open. Dropped down sharply when I guess there was some news that, hey, we're not getting a stimulus bill after all. They keep going back and forth. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw that one more time. Hopes are on hold until after election now. Like that's probably the same one you were seeing this morning.
Yeah. So, yeah, sold off the futures. Futures were up 110, dropped down to like 0, a little bit negative. The long bond, the 30-year bond, shot up very, very sharply from like 173.13 up to 174.03. So that was kind of interesting. Lots of flight to the bonds there. Which we did not get a lot of yesterday. I would have thought we would have gotten more of a flight to the bond market, but we didn't.
Yeah, pulling that up quick, I was just looking because it's been a few weeks since we looked at that. We were up around 1.67. Looks like it's dropped off the last couple days. But that was another. I know we had been discussing that.
Yeah, when it gets up around 1.6, the Fed doesn't like that. They really don't like that, so they start buying up those long, especially the long end of the yield curve at the 30-year. I don't see. Well, there was a pretty good move on the 10-year too, almost up to 0.87 there, 0.87.
Yep.
The rest of the curve was pretty flat, but a little bit up in the entire curve there.
Yeah, it's like you say, the actual bond market on those long-term ones. So we keep our eye on that.
Yeah, they don't like it above 1.6. When it gets above 1.6, they knock it down. No real big news this morning, although I guess Caterpillar came out with their earnings. It was a little bit of a disappointment, and they were down. That's about it.
And glancing at the spreadsheet from yesterday, we did see it's another handoff day where we had the long tail forming here with the new fresh bearish herding, but it was only one with a big down day, so it wasn't overly. But then we also did get the price anomaly, so that was part of that rise, I think, this morning. So it's kind of a little inner fight there.
Yeah, sometimes that price anomaly hits early in the morning before the open, and sometimes it's at the close. So I would not be. I mean, we only got 110 point boost in the early morning, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the market of about 290 points today. But we'll see. We'll see. Right now, it doesn't look so good. It looks like it's just kind of choppy.
Yeah, a lot of wicks this morning, a lot of pressure back and forth. I think there's a lot of indecision is the way that's looking to me.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out on the spreadsheet before you completely put it away there is the if you scroll over to the right, take a look at the long-term signal. I plotted the long-term signal into the spreadsheet, and I made another tab down there. Might be a good idea to do that going back to maybe, I'd say probably a good year, maybe the end of 2019. But it's really starting to roll over, and there was a double top on the data points at 1.96 on the long-term signal. I don't know when that happened. If we go back, there it is, to 1.96. What date was that?
Looks
In
like
August.
14 and 8/17, so over a weekend.
Yeah, and then it hit. I think it hit 1.93 or 97 a few days later, about 2 weeks later on the 27th. So we got a double top on that on the long-term signal, and it's really starting to roll over here.
So right there, double top, and it came up and hit it, then it's been moving down ever since then.
Yeah, no, I put another tab down in the bottom of the spreadsheet, and I plotted that in another chart. I think it's important that we keep track of that. I'll send that to you so you don't have to recreate what I just did.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, it's in fact, I'll take a screenshot and I'll put it in RTUS right now, so you can grab at least the chart, because it looks pretty interesting. It just barely dipped negative a couple of times, and now it's starting to roll over with that double top there.
As that's coming across, we just see no one side either way. It's internals right around the middle. Not like yesterday where we saw it stair stepping down. So that's the big difference. So yesterday was all down orders coming in. Today we're just hovering around that zero line again. And my old school fib held strong there. The fib line's been on there for a long time. Losing my coffee. There we go.
I lost my Slack channel. Where'd it go?
Too many screens open, right?
Yeah, way too many. I didn't think I closed that out, but I guess I did. So I haven't named this chart yet, but I will before I send you the spreadsheet.
Yeah, and just to cover the last pieces, since we do hit them every once in a while, or more often than not, I should say. No majors today. A couple of reports on durable goods. Consumer confidence was a little slightly red outside of the forecast. So then tomorrow, nothing major on the forecast for the calendar.
No, not until Thursday. Thursday night is the big earnings night with Amazon, Facebook, and Google. So keep an eye out for that.
Here's our LT signal chart.
Yeah, that's the long-term signal. You can see that double top. It was at 197 a couple times there, and that was the August highs. and it rolled over, came back, tried to recover a little bit, but it didn't quite make it, and now it's rolling over again. So I think that's something that we should keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's definitely I like those long-term ones too, instead of just the short. You can build your longer positions off of these.
Right. Like the bottom there. I mean, the bottom there was March and April. So it was March was the 61 data point, the 93 was the April,
Okay.
and the market had dipped a little bit and then it just took off. And you can see that. I mean, it was pretty clear that we kept making new highs in that long-term signal. And so that was a pretty good indication that we're going to go up. And then it went straight up from April to August.
Yeah. Just a rocket right there. Nothing in between. So if we
Yep.
look at 129 to 149, give or take.
Yep. Well, 197. Yep.
So
Or yeah, and the data points. Yes, you're right. But up 197 on the long-term signal. And one of the interesting things I did notice back in April, when we did dip negative on the long-term signal, May there. That was May. And you notice that we dipped on the long-term signal. The lowest point was minus 0.28, right?
Yep.
But look at the hurting. Nothing. It was all bullish. If you're a long-term, if you're looking at a long-term signal opportunity, the buy-sell signal went positive, LT signal bottomed out, and there was no bearish hurting. So, those are kind of longer-term opportunities that you can take advantage of with the spreadsheet. It's not just for short-term trading. Look at those long-term signals and compare it to how much bearish hurting there is.
Yeah, you could either take this for a couple of weeks, or you could do really long-term and have a couple different positions, however you want to slice it. But if we just look at the LT signal and the buy-sell signal, as long as this is continuing up, so maybe you could have got into position positive, positive, positive. Right here is the first time that it was not an increase, and you could have exited a position if you really wanted to. So if we track that out, there's the 2.8. So if we got in here on the Dow, I just add these up down to the 0.09. That's a 2,500 point move on the Dow.
Yeah, and then when it got to 20 on the buy-sell signal, that's kind of a short-term sell signal right there.
Yeah, you can use that for exactly. That could be your indicator. This hits 20, you could exit.
Yeah.
Then it hit 20 twice, so there was the warning, and that's before the 1,800 point loss. So you would have been warned before this happened.
Right. Yeah.
Which also, you got a little warning where the first column here, we had an orphan back here, and this would say, all right, 2 in a row. That would also be another warning sign before this happened. So the spreadsheet gives you multiple indicators, especially with the swing signal. So maybe you just did this for a week and a half, or whatever. Best case scenario, it's 2,800 or 23,000 points. But then, all right, we took a loss. Let's close that position out.
Yeah, to 20 on the buy-sell signal is probably the highest. The 2021 is the highest I've ever seen it. So yeah, when it gets up to that point, then it's overbought.
And we see that in the curve as well. Look at how this peaked here.
Yeah. That's not as important as the buy-sell signal, in my opinion, because I have never. I mean, you can scroll through the spreadsheet, and I would suggest you guys go through it yourself and look for highs. Typically, it tops out around 14, 15. 2021 is really, really high. So that would definitely have been a signal to me that, hey, we're on a short-term basis, we're probably overbought, and we're going to get a pullback. Now, nobody would have guessed the 1,800 point pullback.
Right, exactly.
I continually, it just kind of amazes me that some of the people that are on like CNBC and stuff like that, and I heard a guy who has been in the markets for years, who is just absolutely convinced that no one can predict the market on a short-term basis. No, we do it on a daily basis. You just take a look at the spreadsheet, you take a look at market timer, and you will have, I mean, it's just like flying a plane with instrument controls, and that's all they are. They're looking at probabilities and they're looking at buying and selling, supply and demand. That's all it is.
Data driven. It is just numbers. It's not an opinion.
That's right. So we're getting back a little bit to the downside here. NASDAQ is still a little bit on the strong side. It's up 4.8 on the supply demand numbers. Dow is weaker and it is down, and it's minus 3.1. So what it's doing is measuring those SD, the market timer XL SD, market timer NASDAQ SD is measuring supply and demand in the market for stocks in real time. That's the big advantage here. If anybody's kind of tuning in to us for the very first time, those numbers tell us what the supply and demand is for stocks, minute by minute, second by second.
And you can adjust that. So this is on a 1 minute because I was trying to capture when there was a $2,800 or 2,800
print.
Yeah, print going on there. So I'll bump this back to 5 like the other ones. Yeah, you can dial that in and see what they are very short term.
You gotta let that load. I think your computer's slow because
it's busy right now since I just switched the time frame. The fans are churning. We'll let that guy come back in and think. If I go back to the 1, you'd see it, but I'll just leave it there and let it recalculate.
The AD, we're starting to see the decline. It didn't quite get above, it got above 0, I think, just a little bit there. It went a little bit positive and then it just backed off. Almost like when we see, a lot of times we'll see the advanced decline line open up plus 1,000 or plus 1,500. It'll come all the way down to 0, but never quite go negative and then go back up again. And that indicates a positive day. Now we're having the opposite. We see the ADD open lower and go up to the 0 line and then come back and make a new low. Interesting. So it's like the opposite of, instead of buying the dip, you sell the rip.
Yep, exactly. See, now it's computing again. So now we're back at -1. So it's fluctuating again as we see. So if you don't see it show up on your computer right away, just it'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot in that algorithm that needs to be calculated by TOS, and just takes a little bit of time.
And we see the Bulls and the Bears are a tie game here, 8-8, as we get a little move higher, and it runs into this moving average where it bounced off it once before. So we'll see if it bounces off that again.
Well,
I would not be surprised.
That's a scoreboard for the NASDAQ. So remember, there's a scoreboard for the NASDAQ and there's a scoreboard for the NYSE. That's not quite as bullish.
Right. It's 10-2 over there.
Yeah.
With the buy and sell of a -1. Here we got a buy, sell, and 0.
Yeah, it's neutral. Yeah.
So watching all the indicators, as you say, we're flying the plane.
Yep. Yeah, maybe the deal is back on stimulus.
Just kidding. Just wait a minute. It'll change.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the weather in New Mexico. I was in New Mexico in the summer one time, and it was like beautiful, and all of a sudden these clouds came out of nowhere and just dropped a ton of rain on us.
It's the old saying, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute. It'll change.
Second later, it was gone, and the sun was back out.
All right, Andre, you got any burning questions going on there as we're getting close to a wrap on this one? He's been quiet today. Andre's usually good for a couple. Maybe he's going to start hosting with us because he's our long timer. No burning questions, he says. All right. How's your day going? Any trades in this morning? Are you staying away from the chop? No trades today. It's not a bad way to do.
Yeah, it's probably smart because it's just it's just up and down today.
Wait for the right opportunity that's not middle of the road spaghetti junction like this.
Mm-hmm. Cryptocurrencies are up just a little bit. Actually, Bitcoin went up to 13,475, I believe. It's very, very close to 13,500. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's got a little bit of a bid. Well, the dollar is down. So, the dollar was down a little bit. The one thing about the dollar, though, if you got the Dixie, if you can bring that up on the hourly chart, or is it the weekly? Let me see what I've got it on. Yeah, I've got mine on an hourly chart. It's a rising wedge. It's a rising wedge, and I'll put that in the RTUS.
Yeah, right at 92.9 right now.
If you scroll out just a little bit, I think you probably can see it. This is kind of a small picture, but that's what I'm looking at. So rising wedge patterns are bullish. So you can see if you connect those lower in the top there, if you connect those lower ones going back to, looks like the 21st of October, yep, right there. Yep, so it's a rising wedge, and now if it was a declining wedge, the flat part of the pattern would be at the bottom. This is a rising wedge with the flat part is at the top. And so typically what happens in technical analysis is that the rising wedge, which means there's higher lows and a flat top, it will go through the flat section of the pattern. Now we did dip down below that rising wedge a little bit, but we still have a higher low compared to the previous low. But it's the flat part. So if the flat part was at the bottom, we'd expect it to break down below it. But the flat part is at the top, so we expect it to go higher. But it's down a little bit this morning, and I think that's why we're getting a little bit of a bid on cryptocurrencies.
That's how we fare out on a daily.
That's a typical Wyckoff pattern to me. Oh boy, that is just an absolutely beautiful Wyckoff accumulation pattern. We get a dip in the bottom in the middle part there, which is a spring, they call it, a rise, a pullback, and then it's just kind of rising from that point. Yeah, it's a very, very very clean, very clear Wyckoff accumulation pattern.
Yeah, return back to this accumulation area.
Yeah.
Could very well see that jump right back up there and then just consolidate once again.
Absolutely. I would target between probably 90, 98 or so, 97, get a little bit of a hesitation there before it goes up to 100, 101.
Yeah, I'd say 101 to 98 is a good little area there.
Yep. And then we'll see what happens after that.
Andre says expectation of a bear market for crypto and move into asymmetric.
Yes, absolutely. I think if the dollar does do what it looks like it's going to do, which is go higher here, cryptos are going to get sold off. Ugh, I hate saying that. I hate that. I hate saying that, but I think it's true. I think cryptos are going to go down. If you bring up XLM, I love XLM too because it does move really, really nicely. But it's got a massive head and shoulders pattern on it. I'm really not happy about it, but I'm not quite sure what I should do, but I can't ignore it either. If you go to a daily chart, you just got this, massive.
The inverted one?
No. This is.
What are you seeing here?
This is bad. This is really bad. I hate to say it. And, but the thing about cryptocurrencies, though, have a very strange pattern sometimes. They're not like stocks. And sometimes a lot of these patterns just don't play out. Oops, wrong one. Sorry. Oh, no, that's the right one. I sent you the right one.
So you're on, what are you on there?
It's a daily. You got to scroll out, though. You got to go way back. Oh, not that far back.
What was this one?
Oh, it's 7. What? What is that? Oh, it's a market cap for XLM. You're not on XLM. You're on the market cap for XLM.
Well, I put XLM in there.
You got to go XLM USD. Oh, not crypto cap, just XLM slash USD,
I was testing you
or not slash, but just USD, no slash.
right here.
Yeah, there you go.
I was
All right.
wondering, like this pattern, I don't see a head and shoulders. I don't know what you're talking about.
So yeah, just scroll out just a little bit there, and you can see you got the left shoulder is right around June.
I can bring over your picture here, make it easier. You got the drawing on it.
Okay. Yeah, so the left shoulder is right around that June time period, and then we went all the way up to 12 cents. And then now we're kind of forming the right shoulder. And that's what I'm, and the neckline, I didn't draw it, it's right around 7 cents. Just below that. So if we, boy, that looks extremely bearish to me.
Yeah. So it's at about a 0.05 difference, so we could go down to 0.03.
Yeah.
For a potential target there.
Yeah, and that could play out if we get the rally in the dollar that I think is going to happen. I don't know. I mean, I sold some of my XRP a while ago. Of course, I always have a bag of XRP, but I sold a little bit, bought some back at 17 cents in June when I saw a rally coming. I got XLM. I think I'm going to start selling it today.
Andre's asking about the files. Yes, if you go into the trader resources in the member site in the courses area, you'll see the one that's called trader resources and downloads and member downloads. There's a download section in there. And there is now a button that has the asymmetric trade spreadsheet. If you don't see it, shoot me an email or hit me up on Slack, but it should be there waiting for you. And everybody else that's watching, that's a member, go and grab that so you can keep track, and updates will happen in the RTUS service from Strong Market if those do change, or when things do happen, whether they're modified into a credit spread or modified into a closing order. We'll keep you updated there.
Absolutely.
And with that, we are getting close. I do got to jump on. I have a client call in 2 minutes, so we'll catch you tomorrow. We're still on, right? Tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow's good. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. See you, Dan.
Take it easy, guys.